Blue Ink by Elizabeth Scarhart and Snowball the Snowflake. Illustrated by Snowball the Snowflake. Narrated by Elizabeth Scarhart. Chapter 1. Ink and Error. Sans's body hung from the strings that gripped his soul. He'd never felt so helpless, or so stupid. How could he have let himself get tricked like this? He forced himself to calm down. He knew if Papyrus were here, he'd tell Sans it wasn't his fault. Papyrus. Sans didn't know what he'd do if Error killed him. He was the only family he had left, and he had warned him. Papyrus had warned him again and again that something seemed wrong about Error, and that Sans should stay away from him. He'd scolded Sans when he snuck off to be with Error. Sometimes the two had full-fledged shouting matches. Papyrus thought Error was trouble, but Sans hadn't been so quick to judge. He thought Error was simply misunderstood. He had been very wrong. Now he hung here. Error had used his friendship for his own gain, and now he had won. Error told him he was going to retrieve his brother. Apparently Pap was willing to trade his life for Sans's. But Sans knew that wouldn't do any good in the end. Error planned to destroy the very universe he lived in. Error planned to make the swap and then destroy the universe with Sans in it. Sans's only comfort was that Papyrus may be spared. But was that really better?
It's going to be okay,
a voice said. Sans turned to see yet another skeleton, but this one was different. His bones were white, like normal skeletons, and he wore mostly brown, save for a light blue jacket around his waist. On his back was the biggest paintbrush Sans had ever seen. Like him, he had large eyes, and his pupils seemed to change at random.
Who are you?
Sans asked, his voice shaking from how near to tears he was.
A friend,
the skeleton replied.
My name is Ink. I fight to protect the universes Error wants to destroy.
Ink then took his brush and created a large axe that chopped through the strings, freeing Sans. Sans dropped to the ground, and Ink gave him a hand up.
Are you hurt?
No. Thanks for saving me. I need to get out of here. I have to save my brother.
Sans looked around, trying to find some exit.
And save him we shall, along with everyone else you care about,
Ink promised. He used his paintbrush to create a large door. He opened it, revealing Snowden Forest.
After you.
He smiled, waving his hands to the door.
Lead me to your brother, and I'll protect you both.
Sans nodded and went through the door. Ink followed, the door disappearing once they were both back in Sans's universe.
Thank you. My name is Sans, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
Ink smiled.
If you don't mind me asking, how come you didn't step in sooner if you were supposed to fight Error?
That's why Error kept you around. I couldn't attack while you were defending him. You'd just attack me. I had to wait for you to see his true colors.
Sans snorted.
Did you seriously just make a painting joke at a time like this?
Yes.
Sans laughed.
You were going to feel guilty if I didn't, and I can't have that happening. This isn't your fault, it's Error's, okay?
Sans nodded and kept leading until the two found Papyrus engaged in battle with Error. He was clearly losing despite his strong attacks. He was on the ground, strings around his soul.
Now.
Error said in a broken voice.
I can kill you now, or I can take your brother's place as my prisoner. What will it be?
Stop!
Ink grabbed his brush, approaching the two. Papyrus's eyes met Sans, and relief washed over them both.
Leave this place. I have Sans here. You failed.
Error stared at Sans for a long time. Then his face relaxed.
So it seems. Well. No point in fighting a battle when I've lost all my cards.
He released Papyrus and Sans ran over to him.
I'll leave. For now.
With that, he disappeared into the antivoid. Ink frowned, putting his brush away.
That was easier than usual.
He watched as Sans helped his brother to his feet. Both seemed shaken but unharmed. Sans apologized profusely, but Papyrus quieted his tears with a hug, telling him all was forgiven. Ink smiled and turned to leave.
Ink, wait!
Ink turned back to see what Sans wanted.
Thank you. You saved us both. Saved everyone.
All in a day's work.
Ink replied.
I'm just glad you two are okay.
Will I see you again?
Sans asked. Ink thought for a moment.
I think so. You're the first time Air's tried to directly interact with someone to get what he wants. I'd like to keep an eye on you in case it happens again.
He pulled out his paintbrush and created 2 bracelets, handing them to the brothers.
These contain balls of paint. I'll be stopping by every so often, but if you ever need me when I'm not here, just shatter one of those balls on the floor and I'll come. Of course, I'll also give refills as needed as well.
With that, he took his leave. 2 years later. The magnificent Sans smiled as he made his way through Snowdon towards the home he and Papyrus shared. Snow crunched under his boots. It hadn't snowed recently, but the air was icy as ever. Sans didn't mind the cold. As a skeleton, he was very resistant to extreme temperatures. Most of the time, he didn't even notice the chill. Of course, skeletons had their limits, but a simple walk wouldn't bother Sans. He turned the corner and stopped, shocked. Walking down the street, a few feet ahead of him was Ink. Sans' grin widened. He hadn't seen Ink in weeks.
Hey!
He called after his friend and ran to catch up. Ink turned, happy to see Sans, but Sans quickly noticed something was off about his otherworldly self. Namely, he was soaking wet. Even the bristles on his brush were limp and waterlogged. Skeletons may be resistant to the cold, but that was when they were dry. Even a skeleton would be freezing if they were this wet and standing in the snow.
Whoa, what happened?
Havoc in an underwater universe.
Ink explained, acting like it was nothing exciting.
Figured you'd want to hear about it. You always do.
I do.
Sans nodded.
But let's get you dry and warmed up first.
He led Ink to his house, and there he got some spare clothes for Ink to change into. Luckily, the two were around the same size and shape. As Ink changed, Sans threw the wet clothes into the dryer and got a spare blanket from the laundry room. He wrapped Ink up and sat him on the couch before making him some hot chocolate.
Thank you.
Ink said, accepting the warm drink from Sans.
I'm feeling warmer already.
He took a sip of the warm, sweet drink and snuggled into the blanket around him.
You're welcome.
Sans plopped down on the couch next to Ink.
So you saved an underwater universe, huh? From art blocks or from error?
Error. He's been really restless lately. It's taken everything I have to keep him at bay.
Ink replied. Sans nodded.
You know you can always come here if you need rest. It's the least we can do after what you did for us.
Thanks, but I have my own home.
Ink told him.
I just stopped here first because, well, other than just feeling like it, like I said, you always have so many questions about the other universes I protect.
Where do you live anyway?
Sans asked. Ink took another long sip of hot chocolate before replying.
I live in the Antivoid. Well, sort of. I live in a small pocket dimension I created in that place. It's small, but it's nice. I need to remember to tighten the entrance, though. Where'd I put my pencil?
Sans pointed to the one that was in his pocket, and Ink wrote down the required chore onto his scarf.
So what was I saying? Oh yeah, pocket dimension in the Antivoid. That's my home.
Wait, you live with error?
Sans stared. That didn't sound good at all.
More like we're neighbors.
Ink said, trying to calm him down.
It's okay. He can't hurt me in that pocket.
Sans was about to say more when Papyrus walked back from Muppets. Oh, hey, Ink. Why are you in my brother's clothes? Ink blushed, explaining that his were in the dryer after saving an underwater universe. That'd do it, Papyrus laughed.
They should be dry by now. I can get on my way.
Ink said. He stood up and made his way to the laundry room. Papyrus followed, casually leaning against the dorm frame.
You need something?
Ink asked as he pulled on his shirt. I need to talk to you about my brother. He grinned at Ink's suddenly panicked face. You've had feelings for my brother for over a year now. That's why you're visiting more and more often after fights instead of recharging your powers with creativity. So tell him how you feel. Ink let out a nervous laugh.
Gee, Papyrus. Normally you're really protective of him. I figured you'd be the last person telling me to do that.
Well, if my brother's going to date anyone, it might as well be someone who saved him. I trust you, Ink. You're not going to hurt him, Papyrus told him with a shrug.
Well, I appreciate the vote of confidence.
He grinned awkwardly.
But does he even swing that way?
He swings both ways. You don't have to worry about that, Papyrus assured him. Ink sighed.
I'm running out of excuses. Ironic, really. The embodiment of creativity running out of ideas for something.
He chuckled to himself.
Listen, Papyrus, nerves aside, I'm not sure it's a good idea. I'm not like you two. I'm someone made to go from universe to universe, protecting them and encouraging creative energies within them. And you two are mortals tied to this realm. I don't think a relationship between such beings is a good idea.
Papyrus sighed. Frankly, I don't see why not. But if you need to make sure it's safe, then I understand. This obviously was going to take more than a little push. Papyrus would figure it out later. It's going to be okay, friend said. No, we don't know they're friends yet. Now, Air said in a broken voice. I can kill you now, or you can take blah 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 blah. I obviously am Error, because I cannot speak properly.